Amy. Thank you so much. The headlines this holiday weekend had their fair share of violence. A shooting in New Orleans' famed French Quarter left 10 people hurt, 2 of them critically. And in London, 2 people were killed, 3 others were hurt. This after a terrorist went on a stabbing spree near the famed London Bridge. It is the 8th terrorist attack to occur in the UK in the past 2 years. When you think about these stories, they are just another reminder to stay alert if you're going to be visiting crowded places this holiday season. And we're joined now by Hudson, Public Information Officer for the Lake Mary Police Department. Officer Hudson, it is good to see you. Thank you so much for being with us. When you are at a loud crowd, which a lot of us are going to be as we get out there to do this holiday shopping, what should we be looking for?
Anything unusual. You know, if you see odd behavior, anything that you're concerned about, make sure you're reporting that. Don't
you think, though, we kind of now look at everything as odd behavior because we're kind of so on edge? If we see somebody that we think may look suspicious, or we see somebody who's maybe pacing back and forth, we're all on edge right now, especially given everything we've just been reporting and the fact that it is the holiday season, right? Yeah. Are we overreacting?
You know what? We need to be able to enjoy this wonderful nation that we live in. You know, we're not under threat 24/7, but at the end of the day, we have to be aware of what's happening around us. We need to know where our exits are at. We need to make sure that if we're in a large crowd, anything unusual, we're on the lookout for without being on edge.
Let's stay on that subject here for a second. I think that's so important because that's one of the things that I do now that I never did before. Whenever I go to the movies, whenever I go anywhere, okay, the exit's here, the exit's here. Are there any other tips that you can give us? Because I know looking for your exits is a very, very important one, knowing where to get out if you need to get out quickly.
Sure. And that's even for a fire, for that matter. You want to know where those exits are at. But if you hear something that sounds like firecrackers, it's not. If it's not the 4th of July, then you need to
assume that it's not a firecracker. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you want to react appropriately. And that may mean barricading in place, or it may mean getting out of the area. But it's taking that action that's important.
You know, it's interesting because we may look for certain things, but we're not the experts here, right? You guys are. What are some of the things when you're out patrolling that you all look for that may be a little suspicious?
Well, you know, if it's the middle of the summer, for example, and somebody has a coat on, that's a little unusual. Sometimes that could mean someone's concealing something. If you see someone that looks unusually nervous and they're pacing about a lot, that's a little unusual. A lot of times if people have a weapon, they'll want to touch that weapon. It almost reminds them that it's there. So you look for those furtive movements when you're looking at people that may be suspicious.
Can I ask you this? Are you finding that people are a little more on edge now given everything that's been happening lately?
You know, unfortunately they are. Yeah. You know, it's the world that we live in. It's what we see every day. Our level of awareness in public venues has to be much more increased than it would have been, let's say, a decade ago.
Are you finding that awareness has increased much more than it has a decade ago? When you go out and talk to people, are you finding that they're like me, that they're wanting to know, where's my exit? What about this? What about that? I'm a parent. I have 3 children, so I don't want to overreact.
Sure.
But at the same time, sometimes I feel like I am, especially doing what I do for a living. I'm maybe a little more on edge than maybe the average person would be.
Well, you know what? You want to know what's happening around you. You want to make sure you are aware. You know, if you can get a jump on things before it actually develops, that's going to increase your chances of survival.
Here's the other thing, though. People may be hesitant to report it because they may think, oh, I'm going to look stupid because it's going to probably end up being nothing, right? What would you say to something like that?
Report it.
Report it, no matter how silly you think it may be.
It doesn't matter. You know, your police officers and deputies, they're on call. They are here 24/7. You want to report anything and everything that you think is suspicious.
Oh, Officer Hudson, we appreciate you coming on today. Thank you. Have a great holiday season. Happy shopping out there. The time right now is 9:19. Bob, let's turn things over to you.